Welcome you back to the Patrick Netherton Show right here on 1130 The Tiger and 103.3 FM, as we are joined now by brand new Northwestern State Demon head basketball coach Corey Gipson. And Coach, first of all, welcome to Northwest Louisiana. Obviously this show's up in Shreveport, but you got your introduction to Natchitoches, got to get down there. Give me some idea of just kind of how this all came about, why you wanted to maybe pursue the Northwestern State job, and kind of walk us through that process.
Yes, sir. From the very beginning, this felt right, and it is right. And very, very blessed and very fortunate to have gone through the search firm when they reached out, and when I had a chance to meet Kevin, the current AD, and some of the other administrators, and meet Dr. Jones, and let them give their spiel. You know, I just knew that this was the right place for me and my family.
Your family is very involved. We had the press conference a little earlier today, and your daughter's adorable. Your two sons are fantastic. And I can tell, and I know that's probably a huge selling point for NSU, but also for yourself, that family's very important to you, and that's a big thing. What was the kind of conversations with the family when you were intrigued by this job, looking at this job? You know, how do you talk to your kids about, hey, we might have to move from Missouri to Louisiana, that kind of thing? How do you talk to them about that, and what were those discussions like?
Everything that we do and every decision we make as a family, we sit down and we talk about it. And it's not always easy to make a transition. You know, you have to go through some bittersweetness. And, you know, probably our middle child, you know, Tanner, he probably took it the hardest. You know, Jordan is a junior in college at the University of Memphis. And then we have Frankie here, who's just going to try to just run everything around here. But then you have Tanner, who had really positioned himself in Missouri. He's worked hard to be the #1 point guard in the class of 2024. And so, you know, when you have to leave that behind, and you have friends that you're close with and develop relationships with, and high school teammates that you got skin in the game with, it's not easy. And so, you know, it wasn't just that, hey, look, you know, okay, we're going to go down here and this is what we're going to do. We had to make sure that we got our lives settled, and we conversed and on one accord and equally yoked, and we finally made the decision as a family. This was the best situation for us, and we're willing to work here and embrace ourselves in this community.
So is that now future Northwestern State Demon point guard? Is that what's going to happen in 2024? Is that a scenario where, hey, he makes his decision, and whatever decision he makes, you're okay with, or do you have to kind of put the coach dad talk on him? Maybe, hey, you know, maybe you need to stay in Natchitoches and play.
You know, it's a very good question. You know, we never talk about recruitment. The only thing that we talk about, my wife and I, as far as him, is that he has to continue to be compelled and work as hard as he can each and every day. And when you do that, the rest will take care of itself.
So let's talk about Natchitoches and Louisiana. Kind of what are you interested in getting involved in? Obviously the team, the university, we know that, but as far as Natchitoches as a place, how much have you kind of been told? How much research did you do while you were looking at this? And kind of what do you want to get involved in away from the university side?
You know, we did a ton of research as a family, and I'm sure everybody can hear my daughter Frankie, but we did a ton of research as a family, and from the research, obviously, you know, we did our research on the movie, and you know, my wife was very intrigued with that. But once we got here, the research that we did not do us any justice. I mean, these are some humble people here, some loving people. Even the hotel we stayed at downtown. When we woke up this morning, I mean, they had a glow over them, and they chaperoned us and helped us, you know, out of the hotel room and gave us everything we need. When we touched down on campus, everybody was so hospitable. So, you know, we're just looking forward to being integrated. We have no motive. The only motive we have is just protect the integrity of the program.
Speaking of integrity of the program, you talked about Coach Mike McConathy quite a bit in your speech to start with. 23 years at the university, 3 appearances in the NCAA tournament, 2 wins in the NCAA tournament. Basically, he's done more in terms of NCAA tournament work in Louisiana than anyone else but LSU in the entire state, which is saying something. How do you go about kind of assessing what that is and what that legacy is, and trying to go about and not just protect that, but also try to move it forward? And you know, one thing Coach Mike never really had was consistent winning. He'd have 3 or 4 years and there'd be a tournament berth, and then, you know, a couple of years of downtime, that sort of thing. How do you go about trying to not just protect that legacy, but also elevate things?
Well, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. My first initiative for Coach Mike McConathy is that I'm going to lead the initiative of putting a statue out here on this soil for him. So if you want to know how fond I am of him and keeping his legacy intact, is that my wife and my family and and we're going to get some other people involved to put a statue on this soil for him. So that's what he means to me and my family, and we're grateful to take the torch and the baton that he's passed on to us, and we're going to make sure that we make him proud of the foundation that he's laid for this university and this program.
Interestingly, NSU's played at Missouri State, where you were before, so I think you probably had a chance to interact with Coach Mike. What were your kind of memories of that? He's
a great human being. He has a beautiful soul, and when he came into Missouri State University, just the way that he walked into the arena, you know, he just had legacy and legendary written all over him.
Tell me a little bit about your background. You played under one of the legendary coaches in college basketball, kind of like a Mike McConathy. Dave Lose is sort of that sort of guy at Austin Peay. You've obviously been mentored by a lot of good coaches. Tell me about your background and how you plan to sort of bring that forward into this head coaching position.
Absolutely. It's very humbling to hear you say that. You know, Dave Luse is the all-time winners coach in Ohio Valley Conference. And then Coach Gene Best, my junior college coach, he's the all-time winners coach in the game of basketball. And you can't do legendary things without being a legendary person. And I'm so blessed to have been under their tutelage as a player, and even as a player and a coach under Coach Luce. And one thing that both of those coaches always required was 100% buy-in, 100% of the time. And you don't have to have the most talented team. You don't have to have the most skilled team. But if everybody's bought in and everybody's on the same page and everybody's on one accord in unison, you can do some special things.
So you haven't been here long. You got here yesterday. It's not like you had a lot of time to sort of assess, but I know you've been looking at the program kind of from afar. What do you see in Northwestern State basketball, and what do you feel like your priorities are once you get in here and get comfortable and hit the ground running in terms of, you know, recruiting your own team? Obviously, the transfer portal is a big deal. Kendall Coleman has already put his name in. You know, he still can come back to Northwestern. What are your first things when you hit the ground running when you get here that you want to get accomplished?
You know, the first thing is to number one is to get settled, get in, and take it one day and one step at a time, and stay in the present moment. What we can't do is we can't get too far ahead of ourselves and look too far in the future. If we look too far in the future, we can't unwrap the beautiful present that's right here in front of us. And so we're going to unwrap what's in front of us, and we're going to take it one day and one step at a time.
How much research have you done on NSU, or is that something that you're kind of going to get into now that you've gotten the job?
Well, you know, we are NSU. And so, you know, when we speak of NSU, now you're looking at the person that's leading the program. And so as far as looking at NSU and the NSU men's basketball program, you have to look at me. And so, and I think that's very important moving forward, is that, you know, NSU, you know, I'm sitting here at the helm, but at the same time, there's so many people and there's so much tradition and so much legacy here, is that we have to lean on everybody, and everybody has to make sure they come together and pull together in order for this to work.
All right, so describe your style for us. What is a Northwestern State men's basketball team under Corey Gipson going to look like?
You know, obviously it depends on our personnel, and there have been some very good teams in this conference over the years. You take Stephen F. Austin, you take Abilene Christian, you take Lamar, you take Sam Houston. Texas A&M, Corpus Christi won the conference tournament this year. They're a very good rebounding team. You know, they led the conference in rebounding this year. Then you have New Orleans, and then you have Nicholls State and Southeast Louisiana, et cetera, and all the other teams. You know, they have a stingy way of playing defense. And so, you know, we've got to make sure that we come in and pay attention to what other teams are doing and what they've been and how they've been successful, and adopt some of that. But we also got to have our way of doing things and how we play with our skill and how we dictate on both ends of the floor and our aggressive nature. But one thing about this town of Natchitoches is that it's very hospitable. And this town has been very hospitable to us since we've arrived. And they've really loved on us. So one thing I can tell you is that when an opponent face us, we're going to be hospitable and love on them and make sure they get the best that we have to offer.
Totally understood. The roster that you have, the team that you have, now that the transfer basketball, do you even have an idea yet of how much you want to hit the portal versus what you have coming back, that kind of thing, or is that something that you'll assess as you go forward?
Well, we always have to assess as we go forward, but in recruiting nowadays, if you don't have an idea before you touch down, then you're already behind the 8-ball. So, you know, we already have a very good idea of what we need to be successful and what we need to move forward with. And here very soon, you know, we'll start making the transition as far as getting people on campus and bringing in guys for official visits so we can go ahead and get some things locked down on our roster.
Finally, you're a guy that's been in the South pretty much your entire life. We consider Missouri the South, so you've been in the South pretty much your entire life. You come in and are, it's a momentous deal. You're the first African-American head coach in a major sport here at Northwestern State. Is that something that you see as a burden, as an opportunity, as just, hey, it is what it is? How do you view sort of that history making that you're going to be embarking on?
To keep it short and sweet with you, it's just a blessing for God, for any of us to be in the positions that we're in. And we all have to understand in this life, we're just standing in the gap. There was somebody in this position before me, somebody in this position before you, and it'll be somebody in this position after us. But we have to make sure that when we're in these positions, we're blessed to be in them, and we got to do it with integrity.
All right, last thing, I am a fat guy, so I have to tell you, Natchitoches meat pies, make sure you get a bunch of them, enjoy them. Lazio's downtown, make sure you hit it up. Get the big bowl of gumbo. I promise you won't be disappointed. Congratulations on the job. We look forward to work with you, Coach.
You're the man. Thanks for the advice, and you're the guy that taught me how to say and do Fork 'em Demons.
There you go, the new head coach of the Northwestern State men's basketball team, Corey Gipson. We'll take a timeout, come back with more of the Patrick Netherton Show after this. You are listening to 1130 The Tiger and 103.3 FM.